I'm referring, and you know I'm referring, to the MS-13 gangs that are coming in. So we have the weakest laws in the entire world. We have laws that are laughed at on immigration. So when the MS-13 comes in, when the other gang members come into our country, I refer to them as animals. And guess what? I always will.
So there you got the president a couple of days ago at the White House during that anti-sanctuary city meeting, essentially a roundtable where the president clarified yesterday what was said a couple of days ago. Kristen Nielsen is the Secretary of Homeland Security. She was there at the table. Madam Secretary, thank you for joining us, first of all, on this
My
Friday.
Pleasure.
Were you shocked to see the media reaction depicting the president said, essentially the headlines in all the big papers was, the president calls people who are in this country as immigrants animals? That was not accurate. He was responding to a comment from a sheriff talking about the gang problem with MS-13.
Yeah, you know, I have to be honest, I was a bit horrified. The president was very clear. If you listened to the tape or if you were in the room, it was clear he was talking about MS-13. I mean, this is a gang whose very motto is rape, control, and kill. I mean, the instances of the brutality and the violence that they conduct on communities is well documented. We have everything from sex-trafficked women whose head was bashed in 28 times to a gentleman who was stabbed 100 times, decapitated, and then his heart was taken out. So if anyone wants to quibble about whether we should call those people animals, perhaps the quibble should be whether we call them something worse.
Right. It's got to be so frustrating to be physically in these meetings and hearing what is actually said and then reading reports that take it completely out of context. It wasn't just members of the media, but also lawmakers. Nancy Pelosi, who's sort of the lead Democrat in the House, read those headlines and ran with it. Here is what she said in response.
We believe, some of us who are attracted to the political arena, to government and public service, that we're all God's children. And so when the President of the United States says about undocumented immigrants, these aren't people, these are animals, you have to wonder, does he not believe in the spark of divinity, the dignity and worth of every person? Calling people animals is not a good thing.
Secretary, what is your response directly there to Nancy Pelosi? How dangerous is this?
Personally, I think those lawmakers owe the president an apology. They are misdistorting facts in a very dangerous way. The president is trying to protect Americans. He's making clear that he will not stand for this violence in our communities. And here you have elected members of Congress pretending that he's talking about something entirely different. It's dangerous, it's inappropriate, and frankly, it's just unprofessional.
And Madam Secretary, take us inside the administration and where you feel the progress has been made and where you still need to make a lot of progress. As you know, there was a big story a week or so ago claiming that the president was frustrated with you at a cabinet meeting, wants to see more progress, and that you drafted a resignation letter. Is that true?
No, it's not. What is true is I'm here working hard for the American people. It's my honor to serve the brave men and women of DHS. And I think what we did see at that cabinet meeting is a president who's really frustrated. He's made it clear for many, many years that his first and foremost goal is to protect our communities and protect Americans, and Americans should come first. He's been trying to work with Congress. In my opinion, he's bent over backwards to make deals with them, to take the time to work with them, to listen to their concerns. And yet you have a Congress that just won't act. The need for action is clear. Border security is the very most basic and absolute requirement for sovereignty of a country. So he's doing his duty. They need to do theirs.
Well, and I know that the Department of Justice is starting to crack down in a way we haven't seen in a while. And you made comments a couple of days ago about how the new policy is if parents with children come into the country, they will be separated. That's different. But you made a great point, and that happens every day across this country with other parents who break the law and are incarcerated. Their children are then taken and placed in protective custody as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it of course, unfortunately, has been distorted. The concept here is that unlike previous administrations, we will no longer exempt classes of people from the law. If you break the law, we're going to refer you, and DOJ will prosecute you. It's that simple. So if you break the law and you happen to be a parent, you'll be incarcerated. If you have children, you will be separated. But that's no different than what we do in the United States every day.
So don't bring your kids if you're going to break the law.
Yeah, or just don't break the law. You don't have to cross between ports of entry to get to the United States. If you have a valid claim, go between the laws, right? I mean, work within the laws. We're a nation of immigrants, but we're a nation of laws. All we're asking people to do is follow the law.
Sure. Yeah, all right, quickly. So there are reports that organizers are wanting to send another caravan this way. Just your response to all of that.
Next year.
I have to put caravan in quotes because what we see here is just groups approaching the border. We see them every day. We apprehended 50,000 last month. We'll continue to apprehend all those that we possibly can, given all the tools that we have. But this is just a PR stunt. And, the important part here is whether you're in a fake caravan or not, it doesn't give you any additional legal right to come into the United States. If you don't have a legal right to come to the United States, it doesn't matter if you come in a group or you come by yourself. You're breaking the law. We're not going to let you in.
All right. Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, great to have you on this morning. Happy Friday.
Thank you.
It reminds me that, and as I was talking about the religious groups and how they're concerned about feeding the hungry and the Gospel of Matthew and the rest, 41 million people in our country are food insecure. We believe, some of us who are attracted to the political arena, to government and public service, that we're all God's children. There's a spark of divinity in every person on earth, and that we all have to recognize that as we respect the dignity and worth of every person, and as we recognize our responsibilities with that spark of divinity within us. And so when the President of the United States says about undocumented immigrants, these aren't people, these are animals, you have to wonder, does he not believe in the spark of divinity, the dignity and worth of every person? These are not people, these are animals. The President of the United States. Every day that you think you've seen it all, along comes another manifestation of why their policies are so inhumane and why we have to continue the debate, striving for bipartisanship with openness about what is at stake and what the choices are, and to be unifying in every way possible.
Well, President Trump attacking Robert Mueller's investigation this morning as biased and unfounded. We told you we'd tell you about any new tweets. Well, one just came in. Here it is. I hereby demand, and will do so officially tomorrow, that the Department of Justice look into whether or not the FBI, DOJ infiltrated or surveilled the Trump campaign for political purposes, and if any such demands or requests were made by people within the Obama administration. He talks about it every day on the radio in Indianapolis. Here to talk about it now with us here, Tony Katz. And you have your phone up. I'm guessing you are reading along with the rest of the world on this tweet. Here's the question. Let's put aside for the fact of how the president orders this or not. You think they'll find anything?
What if what the president's talking about right here? I mean, I am. I'm looking at my phone because you don't know what's going to come out next. It's absolutely incredible. I have no idea if they're going to find anything, and I'm not one of the people who gets totally hyped up if he tweets it. What the president says and what he does are often different things. That's not being rude towards the president. That happens to be factual. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's see what kind of investigation could come out. I think some of the previous tweets are rather interesting, but when he says he wants to know if there was infiltration or surveillance of the Trump campaign for political purposes, wouldn't we all want to know that? There seems to be some indication that that took place.
Interestingly enough, there's a soundbite making the Twitter rounds this morning from President Obama back when he was interviewed by Chris Wallace, in which he said, in his words, full stop, there was no political targeting by the FBI or DOJ. That's a pretty conclusive statement on his part. Is there any evidence on the other side, you think?
Well, I think that when people take that apart and parse it, and you hear the Democratic Party on Monday, they'll say it's a difference between Laurel or Yanny. It's all in a question of how you heard it.
That brings up an important question. Has politics in general now become a Laurel and Yanny moment?
Well, yeah, I mean, people hear what they want to hear, but that doesn't mean that the truth didn't get said. That doesn't mean that there isn't a truth. You take a look at some of that reporting from the New York Times, and then take a look at Molly Hemingway's piece in The Federalist, breaking down the 10 reasons why the New York Times, in talking about all the investigation, is total bunk. There are people who hear what they want to hear. Did President Trump insult immigrants? Absolutely not. He was talking about MS-13 and called them animals, which they are. You almost think you're getting punked. I have a whole piece on it at WIBC.com. People do hear what they want to hear. It doesn't mean that the truth isn't being told. It's just honest people recognize it, and dishonest people, well, they tell you Yanny.
Okay, I'm going to start calling you Laurel now in our segments on air. You talk about truth. One thing that does not lie is economics. This is something you brought up a month ago, which is the cost of oil and by that the cost of gas prices. AP flash just now crossing average gallon of gas in the United States, $3. When does the conversation shift from Russia, DOJ, FBI, political targeting back to these real economic issues of $3 gas, rising inflation, et cetera?
Well, I think economic issues are still going on, especially when you have Nancy Pelosi still talking about crumbs, and they're trying to shut her up. She's trying to walk it back, and it's not working. But I did tweet about it, and I think a lot of people have noticed oil prices are getting too high, and it's going to cause a problem. The White House should be on top of it. We cracked $80 the other day. Is this Iran and OPEC saying, you know what, you pull out of the agreement, this is how we punish you? If America's going to be in on that fight, I'm okay with it. But I want to hear from the White House very strongly about what our plan is to ensure some lower gas prices.
And you got to wonder how much political capital the White House is willing to use with the Saudis and the Emiratis and others to force a little bit more production and these prices back down. Tony Katz, good to see you from Indianapolis. As always, we'll talk on Friday, buddy.
All right, I'm checking the tweets.
Yeah, well, check every second for sure.